Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome indeed, yes, to a Monday edition of the Mark Moses Show on a very action-packed Monday in the world of football that we need to discuss today. But before we get to that, just want to say we're always broadcasting live with this fine podcast on the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Yes, take back control of your life. Call them today, 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Anidjar and Levine, accident attorneys. Today's a great day from the standpoint of you have something we talked about all summer where I'm like, please get me to this part of the year. We have high school football, we have college football, and now we have the NFL back as well. The trifecta. That's right. It's fun. It's great. There's games on nonstop. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's a good time to be a football fan. Well, maybe not if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, but everyone else, yes, it's a good time of year. Let's start with this then. I had fun on Saturday where we had to do an event. We went to Murphy RV. My coworker Mark and I, we were out there for a couple hours. They're selling RVs. We had a good time. They had a good crowd. It was a good event. It was. I came back home. I got something to eat. And then I watched football till about 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not kidding around. I watched nonstop college football on Saturday. All day. Those late games, night games, Pac-12 after dark type games. It was nonstop with college football action. And you got to ask yourself, okay, what was the big story from over the weekend? Is it Florida State scoring a school record 11 touchdowns in their win against a team I didn't even know existed in East Texas A&M? No, that's a great win for Florida State. They're 2-0. They're going to go to the bye week. No. Is it Miami? Miami, who played another cupcake, they win. They look great, 2-0. Oh, no. Is it UCF? Hey, where Jackson's the quarterback, they put up big points in their game as well. Another lightning delay there at the bounce house, but they get it done, and they go to 2-0. Oh, no. No. The big story from over the weekend, where it's throughout the whole state of Florida. Everyone's talking about it. It's the University of Florida laying an egg and losing another winnable game under 4-year head coach Billy Napier. That was awful. Just awful. Awful. If I would have told you Saturday morning before kickoff that the University of South Florida, who did look great in their opener against Boise State, where they destroyed the Broncos, and going to this game, it's like, hey, they got momentum. They could play some football. Hey, they're going to put up a fight against Florida. But if I would have told you Saturday morning going into that game, oh, yeah, South Florida's going to score 18 points. You're probably thinking, all right, well, Florida's going to win by 20, 25, 30 points. I mean, the spread going into that game was 17.5 points. Vegas is usually not wrong when it comes to these things with point spreads. They were wrong with this one. Florida was terrible. They lose again. They were ranked 13th in the country, 17.5 point favorite going into this contest against South Florida, and they lose 18-16. They had over 10 penalties in the game. They almost had as many penalties than they did points in a football game they lost. Just awful. And Billy Napier, the head football coach, who I've met a couple times, nice guy, after 40 games as the coach there in Gainesville, he is now 20-20. 500 football there at Florida. Just awful. Awful. And you just went through last offseason, and you went through 2024, where he was on the hot seat in September last year, but they recovered, and they let DJ Lagway play. And they finished strong, where they beat, you think about this, a ranked Ole Miss team, a ranked LSU team, and they destroy Florida State. Then they win their bowl game. 4 straight wins to end the year. Momentum. Hey, let's play better football. And many experts, many fanboys with their own podcasts were hyping it all offseason. This is the best team Florida's had roster-wise in a long time. You got a superstar quarterback in DJ Lagway. Everything's in place to win. Everything. Except the head coach doesn't know what he's doing in the fourth quarter. That was awful. In the second half, remember it was 9-6 at halftime. In the second half, Florida had multiple possessions. And all they did in the second half was have one scoring drive. And that was because the freshman Brown had a great punt return, and then he got pushed out of bounds, 15-yard penalty. They start 1st down and 10 at the opponent's 20-yard line. Score the touchdown to get to the 16 points. That's it. That's all they did. You can't be a championship-level program, and you're at home against a lesser opponent and only score 16 points and lose. Ridiculous. And then so many penalties, and the worst was, and this is nothing new, spitting in the face of your opponent. We just saw this 2 nights before with Philadelphia. Jalen Carter did it. He got kicked out. And then you have a Gator player, transfer, spits in the opponent's face, 15-yard penalty. That final drive by South Florida was one of these things where Florida couldn't stop them, and also Florida helped them go down the field with 2 straight 15-yard penalties. It's ridiculous. Then with less than 2 minutes ago, Napier is not using his timeouts. Did his brain fry? Did it melt? How do you not know these things? And that's why in that situation, I was just so disappointed. I wasn't shocked. I'm just disappointed because it's year 4. I've been here since 2013. I went through Muschamp, I went through McElwain, I went through Mullen, and now I've gone through Napier. And I'm probably going to be in a situation where they're going to get rid of Napier, and then they're going to replace him with someone else. They're not close to being a championship team. Remember, the University of Florida has not won an SEC championship or a national title since 2008, 17 years ago. That story can go and get into a R-rated movie. It's bad. And look, they haven't won a championship since the BCS era. They won a decade with a 14 playoff, and the Gators couldn't get to the playoff. Now they've expanded it to 12 games. Can't get to the playoff. That's why it's so disappointing. I know there's a lot of Gator fans here in this area. There are Gator fans all throughout the state. It's the marquee franchise. I told this to my dad the other day. Florida is like the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. There are thousands of people like rooting for the Gators, and then there's probably even more thousands of people who hate the Gators. Everyone knows about the Gators, and they laid an egg again. And this schedule does not get easier. No. You're at number 3 LSU, then you go to number 5 Miami, then you host number 7 Texas. Then you go against A&M on the road. 3 of the next 4 are on the road, and they're all against top 20 opponents. If you are Billy Napier, you're going to have to go 3-1. You're going to have to. If you want to save your job, you're going to have to right the ship, and it starts this weekend in Death Valley, a place they've not won since, I think, 2016. Remember, they made the 4th down goal line stands against LSU. This is when, remember, there's so many M's in my head after a while. Jim McElwain was the coach. They stopped LSU. That clinched them the division, and they went to the SEC championship game. 2016, 9 years ago. Dreams go to die at Death Valley. It's called Death Valley. It's not happy. It's not Cupcake Valley. It's Death Valley. Gators better show up. And the other one, I can't believe I have to say this, is maybe we hype DJ Lagway a little too much. How many games has he started? He's a second-year player. Has he started 5 games for the Gators? He was injured in the spring. He was injured in fall camp. It looks like he's not at 100%. He's getting hype. I'm guilty of this. But maybe we should have, maybe he should have played a full season before we build a statue for him. It's the same thing at Texas with the Manning kid. Hey, how about we play a full season before we anoint him as the next great Tim Tebow? How about we do that after a while? And the current state of transfer portal, NIL, Lagway's getting millions of dollars to be the quarterback at Florida. You can't have a clunker. you got to put up big stats and you got to win at the University of Florida. So that was just like, man, oh man, terrible, terrible offensive scheming, stupid penalties, don't understand clock management, and they lose the game. That was awful, awful. And I don't think right now, I don't think Billy Napier, I don't think he survives the season. I don't. Unless he could somehow turn this around, win at LSU, beat Texas. I mean, he's going to have to. Next 4 weeks, 4 top 20 opponents, 3 of them are in the top 10. You're going to have to go 3-1. Yeah, that's the only way you're going to save this after a while. Just shocking. And I think the number one thing I took out of this weekend and I take out of this season so far, Mike Norvell at Florida State knew he was in trouble. He was on the hot seat. Coming off a season where they went 2-10, a disaster there in Tallahassee. What did he do? He decided, I'm going to go get someone to help me out. So he gets Gus Malzahn, who's a head football coach at Auburn. Then we saw him at UCF the last couple of years. And they said, you're going to do the offense. You'll be the offense coordinator. I'll handle the team as head coach. You handle this offense. They get a real quarterback with experience in the ACC and Tommy C. And they turn around. Again, 77 points, school record, 11 touchdowns against a cupcake after they embarrass Alabama in the opener. Florida State looks like a legit contender who can maybe compete to win the national title this year. That's what Mike Norvell did to save his job. What did Napier do? Nothing. Zero. He said, I'm going to call the plays, and it looked like a vanilla high school offense on Saturday night. And it was so pathetic. South Florida scored 18 points and won at the Swamp. Are you kidding me? That's the difference between the two programs right now. I know it's early. There's 10 games to go, but it doesn't look good right now there in Gainesville. And one more point. Just want to say this. Give props to South Florida. Beat Boise State, beat the Gators. They're going to be at Miami. Hey, if they could put up a fight, even if they lose, they play 4 quarters of football, and they go 2-1 going into conference play. Hey, that's good. They have a chance to win the American Conference, and maybe they could go to the playoff. That's the current world we live in. So that's college football. High school football, and I know Alan Slaughter-Zinski with Brevard Sports Network. He's going to join us tomorrow. We're really going to get into this. But I want to say this. Coco got destroyed at Vero Beach over the weekend. Destroyed. Coco, and I love me some Tigers football, and they have won 3 straight state championships. But they got embarrassed on Friday night. They should have lost to Merritt Island the opener, right? They lost 2 weeks ago at home. They should be 0-3. They should be happy and relieved that they're 1-2 right now. This is not good. If you're a Coco fan, I know you're not happy. And look, those players are not happy. That coaching staff, this school's not happy. They demand and they expect to be better than this. But Vero Beach kicked their ass over the weekend, right? Vero Beach destroyed Coco, and they beat up O'Galley as well. Vero Beach probably is a contender to go win a state championship right now. And it appears Coco is not. Now, if you're going to flip it, Coco was 500 football last year before they really turned it on. But I think it's panic time if you're the Coco Tigers. That was not good. And you look at the stats where Coco has not lost a game in Brevard County against another Space Coast team since, I believe, 2019. If they don't turn it around and right the ship, they might have multiple losses against teams here in the Space Coast. Merritt Island should have beaten them. And I think there's going to be other teams. And the big one, what is it, in like 2 weeks? Hey, they're at O'Galley. O'Galley won, and they got a big win last Friday night. They did. They are 2-1. I think O'Galley's circling that. They want revenge. They want to beat Coco in a couple weeks. That's going to be a great game. That really is. It's going to be a great, great game. If you look at this schedule real quick, I'm just going to rattle this off. Astronaut at Space Coast, Satellite Cocoa Beach. O'Galley this weekend, though, they're going to host First Academy. Melbourne, I'm going to try to get Jeff Benucci on the show. Melbourne won again. They're going to host Halifax Academy, Palm Bay at Merritt Island, Vieira Titusville. Just kind of rattling off games that are going to be coming up on Friday night here on the coast. And then finally with the NFL, the Dolphins are a complete disaster. They did not even show up in Indianapolis. I know they scored a garbage time touchdown. That looks like their coach and their GM are not going to last the season. And if I'm the Dolphins, and I know they're going to host New England this weekend, hey, if they get destroyed and embarrassed again on TV, I start looking at the future where this is not going to work out. And Tyreek Hill, I would start making phone calls. If they only could score one touchdown in their opener and Tua played like garbage, I'm sorry. You're seriously, you might have to start taking phone calls for Tyreek Hill. What can you get? Can you get a second-round pick? Can you get a third-round pick? I can't believe I'm saying that with 16 games left in the season, but it looks like, and I saw memes that we're talking about this, it looks like it's over already for the Miami Dolphins. So on with this on a positive. Fire those cannons. Gigantic win for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know the Jaguars, they beat a high school team in the Carolina Panthers. Good win for the Jaguars. Good win. But Buccaneers, after getting swept last year by the Atlanta Falcons, that game yesterday, if you're a Bucs fan, you probably have just 17 heart attacks watching that game. With 5 minutes to go, Atlanta goes down, they score on a fourth down play. Then Tampa gets the ball, and this Ibuka kid, in his NFL debut, 2 touchdown catches, including the game winner for Baker Mayfield. Awesome. Then Atlanta goes down the field, has a chance to win it. There's a second down play. I'm trying to do the Cliff Notes version. Second down play, Antoine Winfield Jr. makes a Hall of Fame play, breaking up the receiver from catching it. That guy would have been for a touchdown. Then former Cocoa Tiger, Jamel Dean, he also messes up the wide receiver's route on third down to set up the missed field goal on fourth down. Big win by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Fire those cannons. They go to 1-0, and then they're going to be on Monday Night Football coming up next Monday night. That was a big win for the Bucs. Here's what we're going to do here on a Monday. We're going to hear from Andrew Spivey right now, Gator Country. What is wrong with the Florida Gators? Then later, Luke Easterling, Athlon Sports, who, by the way, is an alumni of South Florida. He's going to talk some trash, and we're going to get his thoughts on that Buccaneers win. So let's now go to Andrew Spivey, Gator Country. How hot is the seat for Billy Napier right now there at the University of Florida? Joining me right now here on the Mark Moses Show to kick off the week and talk all things Florida Gator football. We got much to discuss. It's my good friend, Andrew Spivey, Gator Country. Andrew, how you doing today?
Doing good, Mark, except for, my Falcons still suck.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. We got bigger things to talk about, like how the Gators lost to the University of South Florida. Andrew, let's start here. What happened Saturday night in the loss to the Bulls?
Same old, different year. I would say, all the talk last week about how great it was that they had no penalties. Well, that was gone. 11 penalties for over 100 yards. And, again, Mark, and you and I talk about this, I feel like the last 4 years under Billy. And it's not the penalties so much of it is the reason for them, the too many men on the field, the spitting in somebody's face, the not being lined up properly. It is the penalties that you can control. Every team's going to have a holding call. Every team's going to get called for pass interference or a face mask or whatever. But it's the stuff that you can control, the lining up, the having enough men on the field, the not spitting in people's face, the not pushing the guy out of bounds. The penalties that you could control are the ones that absolutely kill this team. And, once again, they came into a game. They looked disinterested in playing. They looked like they were not prepared to play. And, they looked like they took USF for granted. And USF said, oh, you want to take us for granted? We'll take the W and go home. I credit to USF for winning. I think that Florida should have won that game. You go back and you look in the first half, over 200 yards of offense, 3 drives over 70 yards, and they end in field goals because of penalties and bad penalties. And, I know I said pass interference is an okay penalty. You're going to have them, but the Hayden Hansen pass interference penalty was atrocious. You can't block 15 yards down the field. What are you doing? It's just the same old is what is going on. I like Billy, but Billy, for whatever reason, cannot click to get everything going. And, it's sad to say that you knew they were going to have one of these games. You knew it. Everybody knew it, but it happened week 2.
He is 20-20 after 40 games as the coach. They are 1-1 with maybe the hardest schedule in all of football, no matter what level you're at. That's what it feels like. Is the writing on the wall? For right now, your gut, is the writing on the wall, Napier probably won't be back as the coach?
It's going to be tough because, and Mark, this is where, and I hope your listeners know this, and you and I have done this for 4 coaches now. We're pretty brutally honest. I call it like it is. And Billy's on the hot seat and things are getting hot. But what's weird about it is this team's talented enough to win the next 2 games, without a doubt. Yep. They're talented enough to win the next 2 games. And it wouldn't shock me, honestly, if they won the next 2 games. And that's what makes Saturday's loss so bad, is this is one of the most talented teams Florida's had in a long time. I think you can make the argument this is probably the most talent they've had since the Tebow years. When you talk about the receivers they have, the running back core, the offensive line that, returns 3 starters that are really, really good, an All-American and Jake Slaughter. When you talk about this team, they have talent. I mean, the number 1 quarterback in the country in 2024, the number 1 defensive lineman in the country in L.J. McCray, the number 1 receiver in Dallas Wilson. The talent is there, and it's weird because, again, you go into next week, and I think a lot of people could predict Florida to win that game if it wasn't for Billy. It's like, what is Billy doing not to get these guys prepared? The play calling is still atrocious. The writing is on the wall. These next 2 games are make or break.
I agree. I give credit to Coach Golish there with South Florida. He had like you said, he had his players ready to go, and they sniffed out everything Napier tried to do on offense. Everything. And it was like, man, that fourth quarter, you talked about the penalties. Napier didn't understand to use his timeouts late in the game. Why did they just run the ball with Baugh to try to ice it at the end there? I mean, so many mistakes late in that game. I feel like the fan base, I think they've completely checked out on the head coach. Is that fair from what you've seen, what you've heard, text messages? What's the fan base thinking right now?
Oh, fan base is checked out, and the higher-ups are beginning to question this as well. I mean, Billy says that DJ made a check at the line on the first down play instead of running the clock out when he threw it. And, that was questionable. But why do you even give your quarterback that opportunity there? And furthermore, I think we have to look in the mirror a little bit and say, what's wrong with DJ? Because that's not the DJ Lagway we've known. Now, we all know DJ didn't practice until middle of August. And that was the first time he had practiced since December of the Tulane game. He's very rusty. He's, not looking good. He's not in that groove. He doesn't have the confidence and everything else that goes along with it. But at some point in that game, USF said, hey, we're putting 10 in the box. Beat us if you can. And oddly enough, DJ Lagway couldn't beat him. Missed throws, missed opportunities, drop passes. I don't know that was a bad call per se on the first down because you had the matchup you like. VB3 1-on-1, you just missed the throw. The third down, you just missed the throw. And several times throughout the game, I felt like DJ last year made that play. DJ this year doesn't. His pocket presence isn't there. His confidence isn't there. He looks like a guy that's very, very rusty. And, Napier doesn't want to admit that, but that is the truth.
All right, so he didn't play in the spring. He didn't really play in the fall. How many games has he started? 5? I mean, that's why, dude, I have to be completely honest with you. When I see fanboys, and I'm going to say this, all offseason, Lagway's doing this endorsement. He's with the NIL. He's with this. Can we give him 10 games? Like, you could tell the frustration's coming out, Andrew. I don't even want to listen to a press conference. I'm just kind of like, I want to see the Gators play Saturday. I'm up to here. I've had it. I still cannot believe they lost that game Saturday. That's how I feel, Andrew. How about you?
Well, I think that's a problem around the country, honestly. You look at Arch. Is Arch going to be a good quarterback? Probably. But he was the Heisman candidate. People had him as the leading Heisman Trophy contender before he started a whole season. I mean, he had started, 2 games, last year for Quinn Ewers when he was hurt, 1 game. You have all these accolades and you forget they've got to have the presence and they've got to have the mindset. I mean, it's a whole different story when it's your team versus you subbing in as the 2. It's completely different. And, I know DJ made those, starts last year and he looked really good. Here's the problem. Every coach in America had the opportunity to watch that film and prepare for it. And they knew. And, credit to USF, they knew DJ wants to throw the deep ball. They were covered 2 with that safety spine over the top all day long, and we're saying you ain't throwing it over the top of us. And he couldn't hit it underneath, and that was something last year he could do. And the offensive line hasn't been exactly protecting very well on the run plays. And then again, when you got 10 in the box and you only got 5 offensive linemen, the chances of you breaking it are slim to none. I don't care if you're playing USF or you're playing the high school football team down the street. Bodies are bodies.
I think in the second half on Saturday night, they had 1 scoring drive for a touchdown, and I think that was because Brown had the punt return, and then at the end, there was a 15-yard late hit call. I think that was it, Andrew, right? For driving.
They got it at the 20 or the 21-yard line. So they had a 20 or a 21-yard scoring drive.
That's it. I can't stress this enough. South Florida, I think they're going to give Miami a game. They'll probably lose, but they're going to start 2-1, 2 top 25 wins, and then they could beat up the American Conference. I think South Florida can make the playoff right now if we're really looking at the schedules.
Yeah, I mean, again, I hate to say and discredit South Florida because they won the game and they played well. I also think that they were the beneficiaries of a lot of dumb mistakes by Florida. You have opportunities to get off the field, and Napier talked about it. Every time South Florida scored on Saturday, Florida had a 3rd and long or a 4th and short to get off the field, and they either committed a penalty or they gave up a long play. And, that can't happen. And, that's, again, bad play. Unfortunately, history tells us Billy Napier's team is going to be very lackadaisical when it comes to fundamentals. They're not going to be the most fundamentally sound team, and they're not going to do the little things right. And that is what separates teams from being okay to being great. Great teams get away with games like that. Every team in America has games where they don't click offensively or they don't click defensively, but they're fundamentally better with the better athletes and they're able to win those games. And that's what Florida should have been able to do on Saturday. Granted, your field goals or whatever, you still at the end of the game have the opportunity to win with 1 first down. And then you have the opportunity to get off the field if your defensive lineman doesn't spit in the face of an opponent.
It's so crazy, dude, because we saw it 2 days before with the Eagles-Cowboys game. 2 days ago, before that game Saturday. That is wild. And if I would have told you, oh, yeah, South Florida's going to score 18 points, you're like, well, the Gators are going to win big. No. They'd lose 18-16. Just wild. How about this, Andrew?
A safety. Let me say this too, Mark, and that is, when did spitting in people's face become a thing? growing up, and I think you would agree with me, that was you spit in somebody's face, you were probably getting your crap beat out of you. You're probably picking yourself off the ground. When did this become a thing, spitting in somebody's face? NFL, college, whatever. When did this become a thing?
And they're all wearing helmets with face guards on, and they're spitting.
Yeah.
Like, what? Dude, here's the schedule now. The AP released their new top 25. And, yeah, the Gators were 13, and now they're not ranked. You're going to take on number 3 LSU, then number 5 Miami, number 7 Texas, number 16 Texas A&M. That's the next 4 weeks. I asked you this last week.
Better go 3-1.
Yeah, 3. All right, 3-1.
Your pass is gone. Your pass is gone. You know, you don't lose to South Florida and you lose 2 out of 4 there. You're okay. Now, you got to have 3-1. You cannot go into the Georgia game with 3 losses. You can't. It's not possible.
Is it better for Billy Napier and this coaching staff that the Gators are on the road for the next 2 weeks right now?
Yes. And maybe that is, a wake-up call. And, I maybe, knock on wood, this is a wake-up call to this team. And maybe this is a wake-up call to DJ. DJ's a competitor, but I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen that competitive nature come out so far this year. So maybe it's a wake-up call to him. This NIL game, unfortunately, makes me believe that nothing is a wake-up call anymore because they're all getting paid and they've made it, per se. But we'll see. What Billy talks about, he's always the coach who has the great culture in the locker room. That's about to get tested here very, very soon. And it's going to be tested in a big way. Going to Death Valley on a Saturday night is probably the toughest thing in America to do, to win a football game, and you got to do that. Good luck.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head, Andrew. When's the last time they won in Death Valley?
The last time they won in Death Valley would have been McElwain on the fourth down stop to go to the SEC championship on the makeup game for the Hurricane.
That was 9 years ago. 2016.
Yeah.
Man, I know. And the Gators upset LSU last year to screw up their season. It's going to be fascinating to see.
And the thing for me, Mark, and maybe you have a different opinion of this than I do, but my opinion of this is I don't know that there's a great football team this year, and that's what makes it worse for Billy, is you have the opportunity this year to just win the games you were supposed to win and then split some of these other games.
Yeah.
And you probably have your chance to get to a playoff.
Okay, it goes to a bigger issue for me. They've not, as a program, they've not competed for a national title since 2008. They haven't won the conference since 2008. That was 17 years ago. They can go to R-rated movie now. They went to a 14 playoff. The Gators still can't get to a playoff. They expanded it to 12 teams, and it looks like the Gators still cannot compete to go to the playoff.
They're competing just to get into a bowl game nowadays.
That's the part I don't understand. And I know Strickland got the extension last week. I don't.
Mistake.
Well, they won the title for basketball. Is that why he got the extension in your eyes?
But let's run through this, Mark, and if you don't have time for it, I understand. Right, but let's run through this real quick. Strickland hires Mullen. Terrible hire. Goes and hires Cam Newbird, the women's basketball coach, filled with problems, verbally assaulting women, whatever. It was all about that. Fired. The soccer coach, same thing. Got into it with the women on the team. Fired. You had Mike White. You give him an extension the next year. Fired. You look at these hires he's made. Golden's it. Golden's the outlier of all of that, and I think you have to give an assist there to Billy Donovan, because Billy Donovan was the man who, cried for him, that begged for him. And does 1 out of 5 make it okay? And most athletic directors do not get 3 football hires. They just don't.
No.
You fell on one, okay, hopefully you learn from it. You fell on two, you're done. And I just have to wonder here what they seem to say, hey, you deserve a contract extension, because let's face it, nobody knew what Billy was going to do this year on the field. We all thought he was going to be good, but everybody forgot the common denominator, and that was Billy Napier. And you could have all the talent in the world, but if your play calling's not good, you're not going to be good. So what entitled Scott to get that contract extension other than the fact that they don't have a president? So, again, it all, to me, doesn't make sense. It's all messed up from the very, very top down. And I've said it, and you said it. This is the reason the University of Florida is not going anywhere. From the top down, it is a disaster.
That game was bad on Saturday. Just so many mistakes over and over. And I know it's like we're venting in therapy right now. We're here with Andrew Spivey, Gator Country. And by the way, I'll just say this. Andrew and I, we've covered the Gators for a long time. We want the Gators to be good. We promise you that, okay? We don't want them losing these boneheaded games. Dude, I look at that game Saturday, and I'm like, they're not close to competing for anything. That's what I took out of 40 games. And you're right. They might beat LSU, but they're not going to be up there as a title contender anytime soon with the current state of this program. And that's what breaks my heart.
Well, they beat LSU. They beat Miami.
Yeah.
Who's to say they don't, lay an egg against Mississippi State or Ole Miss, or, one of those games that they shouldn't lay an egg to, because that is the problem this team has. I mean, you go back to A&M last year. A&M was not a great football team last year. You laid a massive egg.
Yeah.
I mean, you won LSU. Yeah, you won Ole Miss down the stretch. But, it's kind of like cheating on your wife, but you go buy her jewelry. Does that make everything better? No. So, you win a big game, cool, but you can't respond with that by losing a bad game. To show improvement in your football team, you've got to win the games you're supposed to, and then start winning these games that are 50-50s. And unfortunately, Florida has a lot of 50-50 games. And, there was a lot of juice heading into the season about that Texas game coming up in a couple weeks. That juice is gone because most people believe it's about to be another blowout like it was last year in Austin. And that's not going to be good for the fan base. And, the fan base, Billy, and, the administration talks about making sure that the fan base is there. The fan base is doing their job. They're selling it out. 16 straight sellouts, I believe. It's there, but they're not getting the results. They're asking for NIL. They're getting it. They're landing the guys. They're landing these top prospects. They're finishing high in recruiting rankings. They're doing well in the transfer portal for the most part. But it's not paying off. So how long can you ask people to continue opening their checkbooks to you and giving you the resources, and you're the common denominator that continues to fail?
Remember, they also had the Netflix thing, the SEC. I didn't watch it yet. I was like, I don't need to, where it recapped last season, and then the narrative is that they fixed this and they know what they're doing. That was an episode on Netflix about Florida Gator football. And then the naysayers, how dare you doubt us? That's what it was. All right. They have that you against the world mentality. And unfortunately, this is a fan base that was hanging on to everything this offseason. This was a fan base for the first time. And I think you and I talked about this after SEC Media Days, if I'm not wrong, Mark, and this was probably the most excited the fan base was in a long time. And they had every reason to believe it. The bad thing is, guys like myself and you, we can talk about how good this team is and what they should do, but nobody knows what the coaching staff is going to do on Saturdays, and it's hard to predict what this team is going to do. He is Andrew Spivey, Gator Country. Check out GatorCountry.com and follow him on Twitter as well for the latest on everything as we get ready for LSU. And yeah, we're a little fired up. Andrew, thanks for your help, and have a great week, all right?
Absolutely, Mark. Take care, buddy.
Always love talking with Andrew Spivey. Yes. Oh, we're going to bring this up. Yeah, now we got it. All right. That's what happens when you're trying to figure out video in this new world of podcasting we're trying to do. Yes, he is Andrew Spivey with Gator Country. He'll join us every Monday moving forward here on the football season. Talk all things Gators and the SEC. Hey, we're always broadcasting live from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Hey, give him a call today. This is very key. My good friends with Anidjar and Levine, Mark Anidjar and Glenn Levine. And yes, they will fight for you. Take back control of your life. Call them today. 1-800-747-FREE. It's 1-800-747-3733. Anidjar and Levine, Accident Attorneys. All right, let's go to Tampa. This guy went to the University of South Florida. He is pumped up. We did this during lunch today. He is Luke Easterling with Athlon Sports. He's ready for the Bulls to make a playoff run. How did they get it done at the Swamp? And how did the Buccaneers get it done yesterday in Atlanta? Here's Luke Easterling. And joining me right now here on the Mark Moses Show is a very happy gentleman who had a great weekend. He's rocking right now. Big upset against the Florida Gators. Then his Bucs almost gave him a heart attack winning in Atlanta. Yes, he is the great Luke Easterling with Athlon Sports. My man, how you doing today?
It's a victory Monday of all victory Mondays, man. What a football weekend for those of us who hail from Tampa. We had an absolute blast. Definitely a little dramatic. Our cardiologists are going to earn their money this season, obviously, but man, hell of a weekend. What a great time to be a Tampa Bay football fan right now.
All right. Let's start with the Bulls then. They are 2-0. They're going to be at Miami. How big, just overall, rooting for this team for a long time, was that win in Gainesville over the weekend?
I mean, it's huge in so many ways. It's the Bulls have beaten Florida State on the road before. They have beaten Miami on the road before. But both of those teams were kind of, it wasn't the Florida State of old. It wasn't necessarily the Miami of old. They caught them on kind of a down year, I think. I think Florida State was okay that year. Bulls beat them 17-7. I think that was 2009. But this is huge for a number of reasons because the Gators were always the most consistently good team of the big three, I think, over the last 15 or 20 years. And the Swamp is easily the hardest place to go win out of those three, I think. I think, no offense to Doak or the Orange Bowl or whatever, Hard Rock Stadium, whatever the heck it is now.
Yeah.
But the Swamp is the Swamp, man. I mean, if you've ever seen a game there, like it's a whole different ball game in that building, and much respect to the Gator fans that make it so. It's one of the most iconic facilities in the sport. So to go to the Swamp and not just beat a down Gators team, but to beat a team that's ranked in the top 15, which again, we're going to find out a lot about the Gators this week when they play LSU, and I know that. But I mean, it's just so massive for the program. Week one, you're at home against number 25 Boise State, and you beat the heck out of them, but you still don't know who's who, right? Is Boise actually that good? No Ashton Genty. Are you actually that good? You can squirrel that away and say, okay, maybe that's a fluke. Then you go to Gainesville and you beat the number 13 Gators. And I don't think there's a way to spin that as a fluke whatsoever. And again, we're going to find out a lot about the Bulls this week too. They got to go to Miami and they got to face number 5 Miami this week. So what a gauntlet. The rest of the American Conference is going to look mighty nice, I think, for the Bulls down the rest of the stretch. And they can't get complacent about that either. They got to show up and play. But I think, again, if you pull back and look at this program, before Alex Golish got there, they won 4 football games in 3 years. And I think one of them was an FBS opponent. So the Jeff Scott era was so bad in Tampa that Alex Golish gets there. And I spent a lot of time with Alex each of the last 2 off seasons. When, before his first season started, I got to sit down with him and write a series of features for athlonsports.com. I met up with him again last year after he had taken the Bulls to a bowl game and won a bowl game in his first season. He did it again last year. And to open up this season, and again, so much of what we talked about was how are you dealing with this ever-changing landscape of the sport and also trying to be a football coach at the same time. And so we talked a lot about those things. But what it says is that this program is finally back where it belongs, which is where it was I don't know, 10, 15 years ago when they were beating number 5 West Virginia, when they were number 2 in the country, when they were a perennial. I mean, there was a year, I want to say it was 2003, where they went 9-2. And the only teams they lost to were Oklahoma, who won the championship that year, and Arkansas, who was a top 25 team that year. I mean, this team has gone from not existing until 1997 to being, I think a team nobody wants to face, and they're back there again. So credit to Alex Golesh, credit to all the players and the staff that have kept people buying into this program. I think regardless of what happens this weekend against Miami, this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with, not just this season, but Golesh is clearly building a program the right way. And I think it's going to be sustainable. I'm excited again as an alum to see it happen. Definitely super biased and absolutely rooting for him to do it. But it's fun to watch, man. I'm excited to see him play this weekend. All
right. There's 2 things I wanted to say to you. All right. And I love the alumni feel with the hat on. You're not messing around. I like this.
Got the helmet back there.
I think of when UCF jumped ship to go to the Big 12 and you lost that rivalry, which was a great game. And I wish
terrible. That's a terrible thing, by the way.
Yeah, we should still have it. So
we should.
There's kind of this feeling of, well, we're going to the Big 12. You're a bunch of losers. You're going to stay in this little conference. We're going right now with the 2 programs. When you look at them, UCF might be the worst team in the Big 12, and that could change. And South Florida, hey, maybe we go 2-1, maybe we go 3-0. We can win the conference, the American. We could go to the playoff. That's on the line. That is wild. The other one, if I would have told you Saturday morning, you're going to score 18 points and win, what would you have told me? 18.
And I think that's honestly the most encouraging thing that I've seen from the Bulls these first 2 weeks is we knew that with Byron Brown back healthy, the offense was probably going to get back to its normal effectiveness. And again, they're still kind of disjointed and figuring some things out there. But the most encouraging thing for me is this is the best defense we've seen in Tampa in a long, long time. And so and again, DJ Lagway, healthy. Like, it's not like they didn't even have their quarterback. Like, to make that offense they scored 1 touchdown, and it was in the, late in the second half. And so to hold a Boise State team to 7, to hold the Gators to 1 touchdown, that's the most encouraging sign for me through these first 2 weeks, because everybody in college football can score points to a certain point, especially when you get late in the season and you have to win clutch games. You've got to be able to play defense. You've got to be able to be stout on that side of the ball, or you're just not going to make it through the whole season. So if they can sustain that kind of defensive play, that's what makes me most excited for their ability to kind of run the table and maybe go to the playoff.
Crazy conversation to have. We did not see this happening 3 weeks ago. We did not. All right, that's the Bulls. Good luck to them moving forward. Let's go to the Buccaneers. There were so many plays with about 5 minutes to go in that football game. I thought, and I text you this, I thought Penix fumbled at the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
And then there's other play where London drops it in the end zone. Dude, how crazy of an ending was that yesterday?
Yeah, again, not very good for the old ticker, but it was just it shows you how much that even at that level, at that speed, everybody is so big and so fast and so prepared, like so much effort and preparation and planning and execution goes into those games and those moments. And it's still a game of inches. Genuinely. It still is a game of Michael Penix keeping his body up above the ground long enough to where he doesn't land on. And again, Michael Penix is one of those guys that I'm super angry as a Bucs fan that he went to Atlanta, because he's a Dade City kid. He's a Tampa guy. Like, I'm pulling for him and rooting for him. But I hate that he's going to do it in Atlanta. Again, I love Raheem Morris, former Bucs head coach. I hate that he's in Atlanta because I don't want to root for him. But back to those plays, Penix is able to barely keep himself, off the ground long enough for that ball to stretch out. Because it was one of those, there were so many of those plays where I was like, oh, there's no way he fumbled. And then they show the replay and I'm like, God dang it. He did it. He made the play. Same thing with the touchdown run. He had a few plays later where he stretches out and I'm like, oh, there's no way, his knee's down. They show the replay. I'm like, dang it. He made it. He got in. But there, to your point, the Drake London miss. How about Antoine Winfield Jr. saving the day again? That there's no way he should have got to that ball. And if you go back to the last couple of Falcons games, he had that strip last year against Kyle Pitts that should have saved the game, but they said he crossed the goal line. The year before, he saved their butts again against the Falcons again when Desmond Ridder was kind of waltzing into the end zone and he knocked the ball away from Desmond Ridder for a touchback, saved that game for the Bucs. And again, this is a team that barely won the division. If you're the Falcons, stay away from Antoine Winfield Jr. when the game's on the line because he will make you pay. And then again, when the Bucs finally get the ball back there, Emeka Ibuka, I mean, oh my gosh, like this dude is a grizzled veteran already. You just, I mean, 4 for 67 and 2 touchdowns in his first NFL game. Think about how nasty this offense is going to be when Chris Godwin gets back, when Jalen McMillan gets back at some point down the stretch, weeks like 10 to 18, when Evans, Godwin, McMillan, and Ibuka are all on the field at the same time. And oh, by the way, Bucky Irving and Rashad White and K-Dot and Tristan Wirfs is back in the lineup. You're all pro left and right tackle. Like, it's going to be so nasty, man. So my overarching feeling about this game is it's the absolute prime example of a steal. Because first of all, any game that you win without Chris Godwin and Tristan Wirfs is a huge win, right? It's you feel like you stole one because you didn't have 2 of your best players on offense and you still went out and won. But you did it on the road and you did it against a division opponent. And that is just massive, especially against Atlanta, who's beaten them. They swept them last year. They've gone 5-1 against them. Atlanta has against Tampa Bay in the last few years. So there's just so many ways in which this is huge because the Bucs, two drives into that game, man, this looked ugly. The Falcons scored in 3 plays, 50-yard touchdown to Bijan Robinson. The defense looked like the same old problems. Offense goes 3 and out twice in a row, and it's like, this is going to get ugly. Then everybody settles down. Josh Grizzard, first time calling plays as an offensive coordinator. He settles down, and everybody figures it out. So again, it's the Bucs got outplayed in a lot of ways in this game, but you don't get points for trying. You get points for who has the most at the end, and the ugly wins count just as much as the pretty ones. So there's a lot to fix. There's a lot to work on. But to get this win, again, without Wirfs, without Godwin, with all the problems that you had and all the issues that need to be corrected, to still go to Atlanta and steal a division win on the road with all of those issues, mitigating that, it's just going to be massive. And when we get to the end of this season, this game is going to matter a lot. And we see how closely contested this division has been the last couple of years. Atlanta's going to be super angry that they didn't pull this one out because I think it's going to matter week 17, week 18 when it comes to time for the playoffs. Somebody's going to get in and not get in because of games like this.
We're here, Luke Easterling, talking Buccaneers football. Get the win yesterday, go to 1-0 and division 1-0. This is very key. You're right got swept last year by Atlanta. All right, on defense, let's go back to this. So Winfield, if he misses on that, that's a touchdown. Yeah. That was a Hall of Fame level play by Antoine Winfield. Then there's a weird thing that happens on third down where Jamel Dean, I don't know, he kind of just touches the guy. Why did the receiver, how does he lose the football? That should have been a touchdown as well on third down. That was bizarre. And then Koo misses it's like a curveball the wrong way, just bizarre type play. That was bad. And I'm going to tell you this also. Since you're ranting, I will go on the rant.
Please do.
I believe in Baker Mayfield. When they got the ball back, I know what was the offense? We'll throw to Mike Evans, and then let's see what this Ibuka guy can do. Was that the drive? Hit those 2 guys?
Yeah, well, what's brilliant about how that drive worked is if you look at the touchdown throw, which happened with about a minute left, it was a 25-yard touchdown with a minute left. The design of that play was predicated on everything that had happened prior in that game and even on that drive. Because Mike Evans, who had 5 catches for 51 yards in this game, multiple times, a couple of those different catches he had, including one earlier on that drive, was him coming across from the left side of the formation on a dig route, so up about 10 or 15 yards, and you're crossing across the middle. Baker had hit him a couple of times with that, and then earlier on that drive, I think that was the big first completion that got them up towards midfield, was he got Evans on that quick in-breaking route. He got him there. So what happens on the touchdown? He runs the same concept. It's what they call a high-low concept. You've got one route going over the top. You've got one route coming in front, over the middle, in front of the safety, because you're forcing the safety to decide, do I crash on the route in front of me, or do I stay back and take away the deep route? And because they had hit Evans multiple times on that route across the middle and the front, if you watch the replay, as soon as Evans breaks over the middle, Baker kind of gives him a little front shoulder pump, and Jesse Bates comes crashing down on that dig route to take that away. And he's like, oh, I'm going to get this pick. We're going to win this game. And what does that do? It takes the safety away from the middle of the field, and Ibuka replaces him. He runs right into that opening, and Baker just delivers an absolute, like you said, chef's kiss of a throw right on the money. And so it's kudos to Josh Grizzard, again, first-time play caller. It was his first regular season game call in place, 35 years old. That was a huge moment where he's like, hey, we've set this up over these last couple of throws, the last couple of quarters. We know what we're going to bait this guy into doing, and it's going to free up our rookie. But, man, just a great way to finish the game that was ugly. The Bucs did not play well for 4 quarters, but these are the types of games that for years and years, if you followed this team for any length of time, these are the games the Bucs find a way to lose more often than not. And they found a way to win it yesterday. And go back and look at the Chiefs from last year. These are the types of games that every week, everybody, all the national fans, we'd all get pissed off because the Chiefs found a way to win a game they should have lost over and over and over and over again. That's what good teams do, man. It's not always going to be pretty. You got to find a way with the game on the line on either side of the ball, special teams, whatever it is. You got to find a way to make it not matter. The Bucs did that yesterday, and I think that bodes well for their ability to do it in the future.
Let's end with this, and I appreciate coming on, Luke. Again, so Tom Brady retires, and you're thinking, all right, well, who's the quarterback going to be? So Baker Mayfield is like, I'll play for $6 million with incentives. Sure. Yeah. Remember, we didn't know if that was going to work or not. We didn't know. No one had any idea. Has a great year. Comes back. Would they pay him $30 million a year? So
yeah, he's still the 19th highest paid NFL quarterback right now. Yeah.
What? Hey, dude, he is a legit top 10 quarterback. Did he throw for 4,000 yards last year?
4,540 touchdown passes. Only Lamar had more, I believe, and or maybe Joe Burrow as well. But yeah, 45 and 41 touchdowns is ridiculous. And at $30 million is an absolute bargain. And again, I'll sing Jason Light's praises all day long, the general manager, because it's not just about his ability to draft and develop these guys. And again, Ibuka is the latest example. But it's his whole organization, because you've got college scouting department. You've got the pro scouting department who looked at Baker Mayfield and said, this is someone we can work with. I think there's something there. And honestly, I wrote about this afterwards. I thought that with Baker Mayfield, if you looked at the trajectory of his career, the only time he was fully healthy and actually had a decent supporting cast in his whole career, the Browns went 11-5, and they went to the playoffs, and they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs.
Yes.
So I looked at that, and I was like, if you're telling me I got to pay $6 million to see if I can make that guy work with Mike Evans, with Chris Godwin, with this offensive line, with a good play calling scheme and those sorts of things, I was pretty high on the ability for – I didn't see 4,500 yards and 41 touchdowns, but, man, I saw the ability for the Bucs to say, hey, while the Saints are going to go pay $38 million a year for Derek Carr, and the Giants are going to pay $40 million for Daniel Jones, and the Bucs are going to take a $4 or $6 million flyer on Baker Mayfield, and they're still paying him less than both of those guys were making. It was just a masterful move by a guy who, again, has drafted well, has made moves like trading a third-round pick for Jason Pierre-Paul, a couple years before they made the Super Bowl, a guy that was just so instrumental in transforming the culture for a losing franchise into a championship franchise. He just knows how to make the moves. And if you talk to Jason, he'll pass all the credit on to his staff. And again, he's got an incredible staff full of people, and they deserve their credit. His best trait is his ability to delegate and make sure everybody does their job and not take too much responsibility. But kudos to Jason we talk so much about we got to build a culture and and these buzzwords that we like to use. This is what it looks like in actuality. This is what it means. It means 4 straight division titles. It means going from the GOAT to Baker Mayfield as a reclamation project and not missing a beat. And in fact, your offense gets better. That's what it looks like when you have a healthy organization from top to bottom that has synergy between the front office side, the coaching side, the players are all bought in. You have the right type of players on your team that are leaders and good teammates. That's why you see this consistent success that you've seen in Tampa. And that's why I think as long as Jason Light is in charge, as long as some of these key veterans and guys keep developing, I think it's just going to be over and over and over again until Jason Light decides he doesn't want to do it anymore.
I saw you post about top moments ever for the 50th anniversary of the Buccaneers. I'm at the point, I think Levante David might have been, has he been playing for the Bucs for 50 years? That's what it feels like, buddy. David is the man.
It's so funny, man. One of my favorite pieces that I've ever written. This was back when I was at Bucs Wire at USA Today a few years ago, and I got the chance to sit down with my good friend Rondé Barber because he has a unique experience because he played his last season his first season he played with Hardy Nickerson, who was still in Tampa Bay back then. And so he got to see kind of Hardy's last time. Like Hardy Nickerson, I think, is so underrated in terms of his ability to help the young Derek Brooks and the young Warren Sapp build that championship culture that eventually came to be in Tampa. So he got to play a year with Hardy Nickerson, and then he played all of Derek Brooks's career, like next to him. And then he played with Levante in Levante's rookie season. So I had a great talk with him about like the common theme with the Bucs' ability to find these just iconic linebackers that you can just sit in the middle and completely own and transform the identity of your defense. And Levante, I think my favorite thing about Levante as a player is that he came into the league as an undersized linebacker. People were like, I don't know, man, he's 225, 230. I don't know if he can stay at linebacker. Not only did he stay at linebacker, Bucs were running a 4-3 back then most of the time. So he was a weak side backer. So you're like, okay, he's lighter, but he can be weak side. Then they switched to a 3-4, and they're like, well, now you have to be an inside linebacker in a 3-4, which back then was you got to be 235, 240 to do that. He's like, nah, I got you. He's gone through so many different defenses, so many different coordinators. He's been an outside linebacker, an inside linebacker, and all he's done is put up better numbers than Luke Kuechly ever did, better numbers than Bobby Wagner ever has. And I love both of those two players so much. But they got all the Pro Bowls. They got all the All-Pro nods because the Seahawks were always good and the Panthers were always good when Luke Kuechly was playing. The Bucs were always bad until 2019, 2020. So Levante David doesn't have the All-Pros. He doesn't have the Pro Bowls, but he's got better numbers than both of those guys who I think are unquestioned first-ballot Hall of Famers. He should be, too, if you watch the tape. And what he has meant to this organization, I really do feel like this is going to be his last season. I get that vibe. Soak it up, everybody. Soak it up watching 54 run around there because it's been a special thing, and those guys just don't come around very often.
Yeah, when they were on that final drive and they showed him, I was like, I think I've been watching this guy for like 12 years.
Dude, it's been so long, Mark, that he was on the team when they had the old uniforms before they switched to the alarm clock numbers, and now they've switched back.
That's right.
He wore them before and again. Like he was there for the switch and the switch back. That's how long it's been.
I think I've known you for over 10 years. It's the most fired up I've ever seen you before. You are.
Hey, this is what Victory Monday looks like, baby. This is what it looks like when the Bulls are back in the top 20 as they should be. It's a great day to be from Tampa and to love football.
Luke Easterling, my man, thanks for your help and have a great day. All right.
You too, Mark. Always a pleasure, buddy.
Great conversation with, yes, Mr. Luke Easterling. He'll join us every Monday to talk Buccaneers football. But you know what? Scheduling-wise, Bucs will be on Monday Night Football next Monday, so he'll join us on Tuesday. I know, schedules are all over the place. All right, that's the show here for a Monday. And don't forget, we're always broadcasting live from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Take back control of your life. Call them today, 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. What's on tap? No, what's on tap? My Bears are on. I'm ready. I'm ready to get the dub. Bears 27, Vikings 17. Put it down. Can't wait. That's 8 o'clock tonight, ABC and ESPN. Hey, you miss anything? Check out markmosesshow.com. I'm on all the social medias, podcasting. Just search Mark Moses Show. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow right here on the Mark Moses Show podcast.